Down in my ear. Okay. Everything seems to be fine. Alright. Back to work. Hello. I haven't even done anything yet. I haven't done anything to it yet. Still working on it. Hello, welcome everyone. Yay, welcome. Glad you made it. Okay. Just working on this Loona pick. I'm still working on it. Hope everyone's doing all right. It may include hairline. Thinking of doing more auction art soon. And I'm thinking of splitting them into two categories. Because before they were under the same umbrella. I'm probably gonna split them that way. You have one that's for basically everybody, and the other one that's for like one person who wins the auction. Chris Chan and work on it. Yeah, it's a style thing. I'll need to work on making faces a little bit more unique, because I know at a certain point they kind of blend together if they're not given certain features. I know. Like, I've noticed for certain artists, when you like put them to, next to like other like artists who have kind of I guess found the same like anatomy and shading methods, their artwork kind of looks exactly the same as another person's, and it's like really hard to tell the difference at times, unless it's like certain characters or something like that. So it's like on one end it's probably better to avoid that to a degree. It's like, yeah, learn on the anatomy, but also learn to deviate from it and like twist it to make it a little bit more unique to fit you. Yeah, because the whole point is to like look at references and like other artist styles that you like, or you know, be inspired by other media or whatever, you know, ideas that you're into, and then figure out how to like combine it all together, like a hodgepodge, like a amalgamation of your interests. I'm doing alright. Oh, you're on vacation? That's good. Hope you're doing all right. But yeah, thanks for saying that I probably don't have that issue with the style stuff. Like, I'm still trying to tweak it as time passes, and you know, take whatever I've learned and as well as whatever I've been inspired by, and trying to make it interesting. Because I know for the most part I'm mostly influenced by Sonic the Hedgehog, which luckily I think I've managed to drift from that. And it mostly just falls on certain characters that end up getting like whatever traits of that. Like Jolly, for example, he gets a bit of Tails' design choices. Yeah, this is the Loona pick. Yeah, like I'm not afraid of doing like recycling if doable. Like obviously I'm not gonna use it for everything, but if there's like if it's like a simple scene or something like that, or a simple panel or something, I can grab something from an earlier page or something and tweak it to whatever I want, as long as it's just like, you know, it fits the scene still. It's not just like copy paste and then I'm done situation. Unless unless it's like a joke page or whatever, or like something that's not serious, then I'm just like, yeah, I'll just grab it and there you go. Because it's not supposed to be used for anything serious. I think people are tapping out of Loona to a degree. Like, she's still popular as far as I can tell, but I think people are just moving on to like newer characters. And then it's kind of like, once you see Loona get fat, how do you like mix it up type of situation. So I think you have to, like, personally I think you have to put her in some kind of narrative, or put her in a comic. Well, I mean, it's the same thing, but like, you know, put some plot with the waking. And then, I don't know, maybe it has to make sense to a degree. Like don't just make her fat for the sake of making her fat. You have to like put in a decent reason for it to happen. You know, make people interested into why it's happening rather than just seeing it happen. Because like, if I just took this and just said Loona gets fat and then it's done, then it's kind of boring. Yeah, and she's done ass shaking before, but the recent episode was definitely press a button or two. It's like, oh hey, because it's like on one end it's just, you know, Loona's just, you know, apprehending the character, but on the other hand it's like, you know, got that butt wiggle. And they're fully aware of the furries that are super into Loona. So at that point, it's like, is that even a was that even like a intentional or not? And it's like, even if it wasn't, we'll take it. Yeah. Like, Toriel is like a character where you don't have to make her gain weight. She's already got the mom bod. So, you could just have her, like, either slightly chubby or even just normal, and she's perfectly fine. Loona falls more into the, you know, angsty, goth style, where you're more interested in her just being, you know, aloof or ignoring the viewer, and she can be in like some suggestive pose, and from her perspective you're just being a perv, but like that's the point. You want her to dislike you. Oh yeah, I'm sure there's like a lot of meme stuff that people will throw into their episodes. Like, even in the Sonic comics, there's a Hatsune Miku figure in the form of a Mobian. So technically Hatsune Miku exists in the Sonic universe, but as a furry. And I believe Hatsune Miku is owned by Sega, so that makes sense. least I think she is. I don't know, probably not. Oh yeah, Factorio is good. It's not necessary, but it's just a bonus because now you can go off of, okay, she's like, you know, up there in age, probably hasn't been exercising as much, or just, you know, let herself go just because of whatever story narrative you want to give her. And, you know, she's put on some pounds. There you go. Not a bad thing. Loona feels more like a character that you have to, like, give her an excuse to be a lazy fuck. Which doesn't take much for her, because it's like, okay, she's already blowing off working anyway. So you can just give her reasons. And then plus she associates with Beelzebub, so that just makes everything easier. And she knows Tex, who's dating Beelzebub, so her access to weight gain food is easy at that point. Like, you basically gave her everything to do this on easy mode. Japanese animation. Oh yeah, I remember. I think I remember that one. I'll have to look it up. It's been a while. Okay. I need to hold this for a moment because I have my. Okay, that's what I figured. Yay, reference. How would my hand be like? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like, Loona, like, really won't do anything unless she absolutely has to. Which is evident from when Blitz was being attacked by, Stryker, I think his name was. And... Or not Blitz, or Blitz calls, or is fighting Stryker, and he calls Loona, and Loona hears him, but she takes her sweet time getting to him. It's about the same. Maybe just a little bit over. But yeah, either way, if you want a character to get fat, just make him fat. And if people aren't drawing what you want to see, do it yourself. It's the best thing you could ever do. It's literally the old saying, if you want something done right, do it yourself. Oh no, not Stryker from Mortal Kombat. Although technically you could just put that with what was it? Was it Rain, who just inflates you with water and then blows you up? You could do that. Or Sonya, just let her kiss you and you inflate and explode. either way. That was Katana. Oh yeah, Katana does that one. Sonya is the one that throws a kiss at you and you burst into flames. There you go. You're right. And then you have Melina, who just bores you and then spits you back out with your bones. Oh yeah, adding things into your head like sound effects and what the character would sound like in situations just makes it more fun. Yeah, I remember. That scene gets brought up often. But yeah, I have that saved somewhere. Or I could just look it up because I like the show. Like, I grew up watching Tom and Jerry, so... Pretty sure I've seen every episode, unless there's been a few that were banned. And I'm just not aware of it. Or even in Tom and Jerry Kids, where Jerry's mom basically stuffs Tom silly with several courses of food. You gotta stop being lazy. Hell, it's hard for me to not be lazy. It's like, hey, dumbass, we gotta work on this. And I'm like, and it's like, don't, me, do it. And that's basically how Becky treats me. It helps visualizing things like that. Keeps the motivation going. Sometimes I feel I'm not doing enough. Or often I feel like I'm not doing enough. So I'm trying to learn stuff so I can do more. And I know I've slowed down a bit, so I'm trying to fix that. And I'm trying to have time to work on other things like the card game stuff. Oh, that one's not banned. I've seen that several times. That is, maybe it got banned later down the line, but it was definitely not banned when I saw it, and I saw that multiple times. I'm trying to remember what was the point of that one. I think it was like their girlfriends or whatever found somebody else or something like that. It was either that or it was some other scenario that I'm not recalling at the moment. It's been a few decades since I've seen them. Oh yeah. There's been occasions where cartoons would just do that, where it's like, okay, they're about to do some dreadful end, and they close it with like the sound of whatever their demise is coming towards them, or like imply something else. Like I remember seeing the what was it? It was like a talent show or something like that with Bugs and Daffy, and Daffy does a trick where he drinks like a whole bunch of different like chemicals and like gasoline and stuff like that, and he shakes himself up with like nitroglycerin, and then I think he swallows a match or something like that, and he waits a bit. And then finally he explodes and he dies, and Bugs is like, "Oh, Daffy, no, encore, they want more." And Daffy's all like, "I can only do it once," as you see him floating upwards as he's dressed as a devil. And later on, I remember seeing that episode again, but they censored it where he only drinks nitroglycerin, and then they immediately cut to him exploding, and that was it. And I was like, wait a minute. But yeah, there's definitely a censored version, because I remember seeing both. And I think I have the uncut version on VHS still, because I know I have the VHS where Bugs is fighting with a fucking airship gremlin who's trying to like blow up the warheads. Or the missiles, and Bugs is doing everything he can to prevent it. I think I still have that somewhere on VHS. I'm sure it's been digitized by now, but I don't know if it's been censored, because I know there is a censored version of that one too. Just like there's a censored version of Elmer Fudd turning into a jackass. And there's like I know he's not, his name's not, at least I don't think his name is Elmer, but there's like a black version of Elmer Fudd, and I think at one point he turns into a sucker. It was either he turns into a sucker, and that was probably a censored version, or he turns into a jackass. And they usually have like the jackass sound effect. And I can't remember if it was either the sucker being used as the censor, or if they froze him when he like comes to the realization of something, and then they still play the jackass sound effect, but they don't turn him into the ass. There's been so many different types of censorship throughout cartoons, like the random bush that would show up during the Dragon Ball movies where Goku was naked. Or Gohan was naked. And I'm just like, I already seen the uncensored version at this point. Your attempts are futile. I mean, they censored My Little Pony at one point. In a few occasions. Like there was one where Derpy got censored. I think they both fixed her. They either fixed her eyes or they changed her voice, or both. They did that, and then there was the episode where like the main six's clones were supposed to be dying, and there was like a more horrific way for them to die, and it got like censored to be less dreadful. From Into the Apples. Oh, that'd be funny. There are 7 of the bugs with black peas. Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, the rarity blippers was fucking funny. I also like the edits that people will post on YouTube, where it makes the characters sound like they're cursing, but all they're doing is just adding bleeps and like some vowels to make it sound like they're swearing. That shit's funny. Okay. Trying to make it look like the fabric's kind of stretching a bit. Use Fluttershy's yay to bleep it. I've heard the Fluttershy yay being used as a bleep, and I've also heard the party what are they called? The little party whistles used as a censor as well. I mean, then again, people also use Freddy's nose honk as a censor. Oh yeah, the band, that one. I have that episode. The one Viro episode. I have that. Was Runaway Brain banned? I don't think it was, but let me see. Blah 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 blah. I guess technically it's banned. Not really. They just don't screen it. Just because it shows evil Mickey and a character getting killed. But I enjoyed that short. That short was great. Which Rocco episode? There's been several. Rocco is a treasure. Then there's been Ren and Stimpy that's been censored, surprisingly. Given the amount of stuff that Ren and Stimpy did, I'm surprised they censored anything at all. Oh yeah, the Hotline one. There's been that one, there's been the hotel, there's been the bear with his dick, Trying to remember. Because I saw everything when they were uncensored, so I don't even know half of the ones that did get censored. We talk about censorship a lot here. Well, I hate it. I hate censorship. It's like, have the balls to show what you want to show. Or actually, the creators want to show it. It's the programming or the publishers that have the whole like, oh, let's change it because of blah 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 blah. Well, back then, back in the 90s, people didn't give a fuck for the most part. They didn't get censored till like a little bit later. But nowadays, it's like, oh no, let's change this because this could be offensive. I'm like, God, for the love of fuck, can we just have an animation and for the people who can handle it, fucking watch it? Like, God forbid if I ever had to censor my shit. Like, it was already bad enough I had to do that for Buckle, and I was like, you know what? This is just pissing me off. Oh great, got a gnat in my room. So that's gonna be annoying whenever it comes back. Or maybe it was a small moth. Well, when I see it, I'll get rid of it. Fascinating cartoon. Oh yeah, there's been a whole slew of old cartoons where characters get drunk and do stupid shit or make it worse. Yeah, it's always fun to just, you know, spice things up and, you know, take something that already, like, take a theme and then mix it in with another theme. Like, I eventually want to do hypnotism as well. I mean, I'm already doing it for I Have Volume 2. But I wouldn't mind mixing it into, like, other stuff. Like, there's a character I teased who is already falling to that. Let me see if I can look her up real quick. Let me see. Where are you? Because I haven't made official art for her yet, I've only shown her in an ask. Oh, is she not even... Huh. Might be easier to find her on DeviantArt. Where is it? You know, I might have drawn her for like a random occasion. That's probably what happened. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Where are you? Oh, there she is. Yeah, Ingrid Starfield. She's technically a character who's under the influence of hypnotism. Yeah, for some reason, people behind kids' cartoons really think that fart jokes are, or not even like kids' cartoons, but just like any media that's supposed to be hooking kids like fart jokes are like the way to go for some reason. Like they did it in the first Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movie, and I was just like, why? And then they did the same. Well, they didn't do farting as far as I remember, but I know they did like pee jokes in Transformers 2. I know that was one. Or was it? No, it was Transformers 1. If I remember correctly. And I'm just like, guys. Surprisingly, as far as I'm aware, surprisingly they never did that in Power Rangers. I mean, at least it would not have made sense if they did do that. Plus, I think Saban was like at least aware that that dumb shit like that wasn't gonna work. They did do a binge eating episode though. That was a thing. It didn't go anywhere, but that was an episode. However, they did the same thing in Kamen Rider O's, and that actually went somewhere. They showed the character who was under the influence getting bigger and bigger, although personally I think it was a bad edit of them doing that. They could have did a better job showing the weight gain. At least Kamen Rider's open to showing thick riders. You don't have a problem with that. Yeah, it's only been in like 2 occasions so far as I remember. There in Kamen Rider XA, there's they had this thing called Kamen Rider Chronicle, which is basically just let civilians become ride players, which are kind of like jobber riders technically, and basically anybody could use it. They could all transform and stuff like that. And so they show one guy who's like on the heavier side, and he uses it to become a ride player, and it shows him noticeably thicker in the middle as a rider. Because in some occasions, using a rider suit puts you at like your peak, and that's also been explained in Power Rangers. But in that character's case, he was still like noticeably chubby as a rider or as a ride player. And then later in this was like not that long ago, like a year ago or so, in the crossover between Kamen Rider Geats and not Geats, yeah, it was Geats and Revice. They had a crossover with Kamen Rider Ryuki because it was also a Battle Royale series. And one of the riders, Kamen Rider Oja, his suit actor has noticeably gotten bigger or thicker over the years because he's been doing Kamen Rider for like 20 years now or so. And so you notice his suit actor is like, you know, a little bigger in the middle and all that. But they just shrug it off, like, because even though the actor that plays the character, he's skinny, the suit actor is not. But they just shrug it off, and people are just like, okay, thick Oja. And so nobody gave a shit because they thought it was great. And they just showed him, you know, doing the fight scenes like he normally would. But he was just thicker, and that was it. Like, nobody gave a shit that the suit actor did not match the body type of of the character, and they just went with it. They didn't even give a fuck, because the suit actor's been playing that character for years. Every time that character showed up in a crossover or a movie or whatever, so they just stuck with it. So I thought it was great. I was like, oh, cool, good on them. I was like, thick Oja. So yeah, and that wasn't that long ago too. So I'm glad that they had him stick around. And then they could just use that for like other, like if they ever need like a thicker writer, they could just use that for use him for other characters in the future. So as far as I'm concerned, it's just a bonus. Let's move her over a bit so I can get her tail. Thick Oja. Or thick OJ. It sounds vile. I know, this is orange juice with a shit ton of pulp. I used to not like pulp, but I got used to it over time. And having pulp is actually better for you. If I remember correctly, I think it's supposed to be better for you. Now, if we could just have more bottom-heavy female writers, that would also be a plus. Just saying. Like, hey, you know, thick men in Kamen Rider's great, but the thick women wouldn't be too bad either. But hopefully we'll work our way to it, because I remember hearing that there was supposed to be a female main writer that they were thinking of doing, but they decided to do Gotchard instead. And I was like, damn it! And it almost makes me wonder if Kamen Rider Majade was going to be that writer, but we'll never know. But I would not be offended if we had a female main writer. Break up the combo for a bit. See what happens. I mean, I'm pretty sure people who are into Kamen Rider would not give a fuck if we had a female main writer at this point. And I mean, like as the main character, not just part of the group. Because so far we've had three female main writers now. Yeah, because we had Valkyrie, Jean or Jane, I call her Jane, and Majade so far, and it's been great. Let's see, let me grab another song. Chewable juice. Here we go. Or no. I want the longer versions. There we go. But yeah, I don't think it would be a bad idea to have a female main writer. if anything, it'll just open up their fan base more. Because the men are already going to be into it. And granted, I know Kamen Rider is supposed to be aimed at, like, you know, young boys, but girls do watch Kamen Rider as well. So it wouldn't hurt. And luckily, there have been more female writers throughout the years. Need a writer from the hood? Technically, is there one? I'm sure there is, and I'm just not thinking about it right now. I'm trying to remember everyone's backstories. I'm sure there's at least one. Like, by now, yeah, I'm sure there's at least one. I would have to really go down, like, every character just to think about it. Like, obviously, they'd probably either be a secondary writer or a villain. But to have one as a main character, you know, that could work. You just gotta make a good story to back it up. Like, everything is possible, just make a good story. That's all it takes. And I will be right back. I'm back. Took some allergy medicine because for whatever fucking reason my allergies started kicking in when the stream started, and I was like, really? So I've been trying to deal with it most of the stream. But yeah, like, women are into a bunch of shit. For some fucking reason, people try to pretend that they're not. It's like, oh, women aren't into this. I'm like, excuse me. Women are just as bad as men when it comes to certain things. If not more lewd. Like when people bitch about, like, oh, look at this hentai, I can't believe they sexualize this woman, and then you find out that the artist was a woman. Or the writer, or the author is a woman. And it's like, if I remember correctly, I think the majority of hentai artists are women in Japan. If I remember right. Oh, it happens all the time. Like, anytime I want to do something serious, it just so happens to be whenever like allergies or something else kicks in, just to annoy me. Like sometimes, I don't know, maybe like a headache or something like that, or just allergies just become so unbearable that I'm just like, you know what, I'm just gonna not stream or not do anything because it just feels like dying for a day or for a night or something. It's always when I'm trying to do something serious. Or like I'm trying to do something important or whatever, and then for whatever reason I gotta drop it for the day because of, you know, life shit happens or something, and I don't know. It's like inconvenient. It's like always some inconvenient timing. But getting better at trying to avoid situations like that. But if I wanted to stream and like let's just say my allergies were like really bad for whatever stupid reason, like not so bad that it would prevent me from drawing, but just that it'd be inconvenient to like use a mic for it, then I'll just do a micless stream and just, you know, let you guys know what's up. Oh no, like, I can show you. Hold on. Because Hexiva is a adopted character. Which, whenever I do her artwork, I'm gonna try really hard to do it justice, because the original artist's work is just really good work. But, here she is. Like, her original artwork just had her with a gigantic tail. And I was just like, damn, because, like, here you go. Look how big that is. And then starts up here somewhere. Well, technically it'd be over here, but you know what I mean. Show the class. but yeah. That's the character. I'm gonna try to do my best to give her justice when I make her profile pic for myself, because I try not to use, or I make it a point to not use the original artwork as the profile pics, because to me that would defeat the point. But I definitely still want to give the original artist their credit whenever I post the character art. But yeah, she is a villain. But she's not necessarily like Caitlyn's villain. She just happens to show up in Caitlyn's story, but she is not Caitlyn's villain. But yeah, she'll be fun when I do more with her. But she's definitely showing up in secrets for the reasons behind why Caitlyn gets a color and blah 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 blah. So you'll see it when you see it. But yeah, she has a big ass tail. And Loona having a big tail, she just did in certain scenes, whereas and sometimes in other scenes her tail's like a little bit shorter. So I just said fuck it, I'll stick with the thick tail, or with the big long tail. Because I wanted to stay consistent. But yeah, like, as for women making mature content, for whatever reason, people just don't want to believe that women are just as lewd or more lewd than men. And I don't get it. It's like there's clear evidence of the contrary, but for some reason everyone's just pretending it's not a thing. Because it doesn't fit their narrative. It's like, nah, men are the degenerates. I'm like, it's like, where have you been? all I hear from, because most of my friends are women, so this is all I hear from them is they want lewd shit. And some of them get pissed off whenever something gets covered up or censored. They're like, what the fuck? Why is that there? Like, move it out of the way. So yeah, I always get a kick when people try to make it seem like people don't want to see lewd stuff, and I'm like, where have you been? Then again, growing up in the 90s, everybody just kind of got used to it. They're like, oh yeah, this says big titties, alright, cool. Nowadays, it's like, oh no, it has big tits, we gotta cover it up. Especially people who are trying to do YouTube content where they're trying to be somewhat wholesome. And it's like, oh, there's cleavage, gotta cover that up. I'm like, dude, just go with it. Obviously not all of your content will have it, but, you know, be ballsy enough to just show it. Where have those women been your whole life? Well, throughout time, a lot of people try to make all that stuff sound like it was a bad thing, so most of those women probably just kept quiet. If I'm being honest. Like, they're likely quiet until you just, you know, relax around the women that you hang out with and stuff like that, and then they open up, and then you find out that, oh yeah, they're totally into the same shit that you're into. Or, like, in something of equal range. That's why they have all the romance novels where there's characters who are always young, who end up in some kind of risque situation. Sometimes there's incest, sometimes there's being, what's the word I'm looking for? Betrothed to somebody else. There's characters that are like somebody else's slave. So like that's like almost all the romance novels women read. Like my friend, she just has an entire fucking wall with that shit. And I'm just like, yeah, this is the exact shit people or women are into. And men can get into it too if it's well written. Or, you know, if they just like the story itself. Like me, I would have liked Absolute Boyfriend if the fucking narrative in the middle of it, or I would say in the beginning, honestly, if the narrative in the beginning made sense. Because, like, everything was good up until the... I forget his name, the main, like, doll boy guy. They make it seem like he's, like, really romantic and nice to the main girl. And I'm like, dude, you programmed him to be that way. It's not genuine. And she kept treating it as if it was. Whereas you have another character who is actually into her genuinely, and she's just not seeing it for some fucking reason. There's lewd, and then there's male gazy slapping some titties on a character for appeals to be lowbrow. Yeah. It's like whenever you see the whole, like, oh, that if the female character's wearing less, that means she's high level in a game or something like that. Whereas the male characters, when they're like big juggernauts, then that's basically when they're like seen as powerful. And yeah, like I agree that there's situations where it's like, okay, clearly this was made to be, you know, just lewd. And then other times it's like it's just there to be there. Like, it's not, like, it can be considered lewd, but it's like no attention is being paid to it. and it kind of just depends on where it shows up, and you kind of gotta decide from there. But yeah, I do agree that there are moments where it's like, okay, this was clearly just thrown in there. I just get annoyed of censorship when it comes to things like that, where it's like, okay, here's the intention of the character, but then it gets censored to be something else, and then people get surprised when they see the uncensored version of the character or whatever media, and they're like, "What? I didn't know it was like that." I was like, "Yeah, you watched / read the baby version, so you didn't know that this character is into bondage or whatever." Like Harpy Lady, for example, from Yu-Gi-Oh! The entire set is just bondage gear. That's like literally the point. And I always thought that shit was funny. Yeah. I'll wait a bit. I'll wait for the ads to stop. It's hard to tell who's seeing ads and who's not. Do. 20 more seconds. But yeah, like, yeah, I understand that people are becoming more familiar with sexuality stuff. Let's see, I also think that people who grow up in the sexual big shippers. Yeah, like there are ways to handle seeing sexual content and stuff like that and not make it seem like it's just, oh, people are just trying to jerk off to everything, which is another weird point that everyone tries to make, where it's like, if something is considered sexual or risque or whatever, it immediately means that people are jerking off to it. And it's like, guys, we can look at content and not, solely make it one thing. Just because someone's watching sexual content doesn't mean they're just there to jerk off. Can it be a reason? Sure. Is it always a reason? No. And just, I don't know. It just becomes ridiculous where people convince themselves that that's the case. But I don't know. Can't fix crazy, I guess, or can't convince these type of people that that's the case. It's like with my content, like I can't like just say that everyone who's looking at it is not gonna like jerk off to my work or whatever. It's like if they do, they do. I mean, people have jerked off to non-sexual content, so I don't know what else to tell you. I just think that if you're going to use it, don't puss out on it. Don't like start with it and then water it down later on. Or even just like not even sexual content, just like any mature like teen or higher type of content. Don't like baby it down over time just because. Like with Dragon Ball is hardly bloody at all based on how it used to be, or as brutal when it comes to fights. And when characters do get like blasted or whatever with like an attack, it's like there's barely any damage other than like maybe a hole, but then the hole is just darkened or slightly red. And there's like maybe a small trickle of blood compared to like if you just compare that to like when Goku fought Raditz and Piccolo used the special beam cannon on both of them, you just see a shit ton of blood. And then nowadays that got like super watered down. No, I revised the comic because I felt that it wasn't good enough. It wasn't to prevent a character's death. I just decided to make her do more than just be fodder. That was the reason why I changed it. It wasn't to prevent someone's death. I was completely fine with killing off Tiffany. That I had never shied away from that. Hell, lesser characters than her have had more brutal deaths. But yeah, I revised the comic just because I thought it could be better. And then I also wanted to tie it in with World Gates and the other stuff. But yeah, changing Tiffany and Roy's fates was just a random decision. I was like, I could do more with her. And then when it came to Roy, I was like, I could do more with him. That's existential trauma. Oh yeah, there's death in I-Hat. There are still canonical deaths in I-Hat. Both violently and not so violent, and kind of just on the sad side, such as Blake's foster mom. Only if it's funny. Go. I don't know what this fucking dude do, whatever. Why? To get to the Fool's house. Huh? Not enough. Who's there? Let's make this bigger. That's funny. Okay, I think I did everything. Let me just check. I think I got everything. I should probably do the bottom part of her. Because her head is tilted, so her ponytail would be a little bit further down than normal. I still think the outcome timeline is where everyone is fat. That would be a timeline if Yorjadov just said fuck it and made everybody fat. And like all the other Celestials trying to prevent her from doing that, she's like, nah. And does, I don't know, swallows them up and puts them in her like stomach dimension thing. And so it would take like 100 years before the Celestials would be able to bust out of her stomach or, you know, make their escape. And then revert what you did, but for a good while everyone's just fat. I think that's the closest we would ever get to a timeline like that. But to be honest, if that was the case, it would just make everything boring. Because that would be the norm. It's almost like in the movie Branded, where at one point everyone starts getting fat, and then at the very end of the movie, like the first skinny person in like 20 years or however shows up, and then time just or life just kind of reverts back to normal until it happens again, all over again. Yeah, exactly. If everyone's fat, then is anyone fat? Like, you would have to make supersized body types become the air quotes fat of that world. And then you'd also have to decide what is considered the median. So like, what's the lowest of a body type that people can have if they're in like the chubby or fat range, and then what is considered actually fat. Because when you move the bar, you have to decide what's the new bottom and the new top. Oh, I know. But it's something to think about, because some people will or do make comics like that, and it's like you can't if everyone's technically has the fat body type, you can't technically call them fat because that's the norm. So you'd have to like actually consider what decides on if a character is fat, and then if you're making your story like actually, you know, have actual plot and stuff like that, you have to decide how common that is, or where does that fall into the world. Like, it's kind of like when people make giant characters and for some reason those characters can just enter buildings that are like normal sized or have like normal doors and stuff like that. It's like, okay, how does that work? Because on one end you can just treat it as, you know, suspending disbelief type of thing, but then other times it's like if the character uses that as an excuse to break something, like if you break through a door that you originally fit through, then why didn't it stop you before, or why wasn't it broken before? And this applies only if, like, you know, the character is the same size as they originally both entered and left type of thing. But if they got bigger, obviously, you know, size difference type of thing. But then it still falls into how often is this actually a problem? And then you have to decide how your world works when you do stuff like that. Okay, I think we got everything. Very curious how magic and aura works. Yeah, I will explain in depth how magic and aura are different, and because they have similar properties to a degree. So, like, for example, one character with aura could teleport, and another character with magic can also teleport. The difference is where that source of power comes from. Because, like, aura is mostly soul related, so it's like based on the individual. Whereas magic, it kind of comes from like either objects, incantations, and other stuff, and it has to still involve a drain of energy in some way. So that way, characters with magic can't just, you know, spam things infinitely. So there's like a whole thing around it. Earth will go crashing into the sun with all the weight. This is assuming gravity doesn't affect them in that way to begin with. Just crush all the people through gravity. Okay, so I think I got everything I wanted. Let's up your chest just a little bit. But yeah, it's always stuff that I try to consider, which is why also aura and magic are not as common in my world or universe, however you want to call it. Like, aura is technically in everybody. Same for like magical affinity, but there's like a range to it, so like not everybody can use those abilities, even if they have a little bit of affinity in them. So like in Caitlyn's case, she does have an affinity for magic, but it's so small and minute that she basically lucked out being able to go into Hexiva's shop, or even being able to see it. Aww. Oh, that's so cute. Yay, you got a fox friend. That's cute. I'm glad that the foxes still come around, and it's been years now since you told me when you first told me that foxes were coming around. There's a Scooby-Doo anime coming to Cartoon. Look, I'm fine with whatever they do with whatever properties, as long as they actually put in the effort to make it good. And not make dumb decisions just to be edgy or subvert expectations, or to stick it to certain groups of people just because you're trying to be a troll. It's like, look, you're wasting everybody's time and money to try to make this property that people like into a new story or something, either, and I'm probably going to switch this around, either put in the effort or don't bother. Because all you're going to do is piss off everybody. You're going to make people lose jobs or whatever the case may be. Or not even lose jobs. You're going to make people like think that they're going to be good for like a second season or something, and then find out that it gets canceled for whatever dumbass reason. And the only exceptions to that are where companies had already paid to have a certain number of episodes made. And even if it doesn't do well, they gotta say fuck it and produce them anyway because they're under contract. Unless there's like some way to break out of that contract. But other than that, you know, just don't waste people's fucking time. Or like, it's basically like the Teen Titans Go situation. It's like you have all the voice actors back and you're wasting it on a comedy. And the comedy never goes anywhere. And they actively make fun of the fan base, so it's like, okay, so they're aware that people don't like this. And it just feels like a complete waste. And make this a little bit bigger so we have some room for whatever dialogue. At least that's how I see it. I see it as, if you have the means to make something great or continue something that was great, don't waste everybody's time. I mean, it's literally X-Men, like the X-Men 97 scenario. You have a lot of the voice actors back, some of which aren't rephrasing their roles, which kind of irks me, but it's like, you know what? If you can still make it work, fine. And they're just continuing off of the old cartoon, and it was great. 97 was the shit. Or at least season 1 was. Hopefully season 2 and season 3 are still are good, but we'll have to wait and see. Interesting how this appears to be slightly more bottom-heavy expansion. No boobage. And we'll get there. But might lean into more fat ass. Where I was an ass man, so no. I like everything, but I probably do lean more towards bottom heavy than I realized. But I like everything overall. But I try to give everything a fair shake. Like, I do want to do a story that has to do with people being turned into machines and stuff like that, or even just like art sets of characters being turned into robots. Because why not? Still fill this belly. Should be a little bit rounder. Like, I'm trying to make it look like it's hanging, but I do want it to be a little bit rounder here. There we go. And actually, it's like a certain way I need to do it. There we go. That's better. But yeah, that's just my gripes on certain contents. It's like, you gotta... a fair jiggle, more like... It's just, I don't know. I hate it when certain properties feel like it's just wasted effort. Or I don't know. I grew up at a time where when certain shows became cartoons, they didn't like 100% water them down, or at least they made them like you're able to like to understand what it was even if you're a kid. And then later on, when you got older, you would find out that, oh, things are darker in like the comics or in certain other media, but the version that you started with wasn't like 100% off, or it wasn't like completely watered down. Like, you know, watching Batman the animated series wasn't too far off of the comics. Like, some of the origins of characters have changed, which sometimes they would just end up using those for for the main stories of characters and stuff like that. So you kind of just ended up with the new origin of characters because it just worked out better. Yeah, like you take characters like Mr. Freeze or even like Clayface to a degree, because Clayface had a slightly different origin too, and you basically get better versions, or even just better characters overall. Like, or who was it? Ragdoll or Spellbinder. Like those characters were kind of like jokes to it back in the day, but then you take like Spellbinder and see how he is in Batman Beyond, and he's a way better character. Yeah, Baby Doll. Baby Doll is way more interesting in the animated series. Was it? Is it Toyman? Are you thinking of Toyman or Jester? Because there's been like several Toymans, and each of them have been interesting, which is the good part. Because it's like, okay, you have multiple villains of the, or air quotes, same character. Yeah, Okay, so you're thinking of Toyman. So yeah, like Toyman had a really good backstory in the Superman cartoon, and then there's like different Toymans, and all of them have like different stories. Like there's a Toyman that's technically a superhero, and he's interesting. And then you have the Toymen who are just like psychotic and stuff like that, and make like just death machines, kind of like Arcade from X-Men or whatever villains he fights, because he's fought like Excalibur and stuff like that. But like Arcade in X-Men Evolution, he was just like some kid who was like really good at hacking. In the comics, he's like some psycho who makes a fucking deaf fair amusement park, and just has random heroes go through hell just getting through it. Dollmaker? I'll have to look him up. Sometimes a lot of villains kind of blend together if they have like the same theme. Oh yeah, I remember that guy. He was fucking trippy, especially the comic version. The comic version was just like, why? Or even is his name Professor Pig? Is that his name? That guy's fucked up too. So yeah, like, I would prefer to have characters at least be close to their original origins, so that way when you're enjoying the character, you're not just enjoying them because they were put into some like baby version of the characters, and then they're not even like the characters you grew up with. Kind of like because they have Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends, and there's like two versions of that show now. There's the ones where he had Firestar and Iceman on his team, and then there's the new one where it's Spider-Woman and or Spider-Girl technically, and what did they call Ultimate Spider-Man in that one? I think they called him Spiderling or something like that. And all that show is just all it is not Superhero Squad. What are they called? Ah, fuck. I'll have to look up the character. Hold on. PJ Masks. That's all that show is. It's basically just redressed PJ Masks. It's like the same exact fucking show. Oh yeah, Killer Croc has gone through some shit lately. He just gets the short end of the stick at this point. I like the goth version of Toyman. I thought he was cool. The one that gets killed by the clone of Superman. Okay, so I think we're good on everything now. I think I'll do the flats and then I'll call it for tonight because allergies are starting to annoy me now. Oh yeah, you're thinking of Superman Doomsday, Toyman? Yeah, he was. I liked him. I liked his design. I like characters like that. But this is why I like comics a lot, because comics are able to dive deeper into the violent content, and not just for like violent for violence sake, but just like, at least from my perspective, just being uncensored. Like they're well, obviously people will try to censor the comics anyway, but for the most part, the comics tell the stories they want to tell. Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. But I would prefer having the story the way the writer or artist intended. Because even Sonic has gone through being censored in some situations. Ah. Hold on. Don't worry, I can see. Don't worry, I can see when you guys get ads. So I usually shut up or stop talking about the topic until you guys come back. So don't worry. But yeah, like that's why I like comics, because a lot of times you can just make the story you want to make. With, you know, obviously if you're working for like a company, you got to deal with whatever bullshit comes from there. But like for the most part, you know, they tell the story they want to tell. So and again, like not just to be violent just for violence sake. Like obviously there are people who can make a violent comic because they want to, type of thing. But I just mean like just so they're unhindered by higher ups, type of thing, or like whoever is in charge. So like for example, if I want Skylar to feed Marcy just a bunch of bloody meat or something like that, I can do so if I choose to. If it's like if I were to do that, I would like it to be part of the narrative, like there'd be an actual reason for him to be doing that. But I'm just saying, like, if I wanted him to do that, there's like no reason for me to not be able to. I would have the freedom to do so. So that's where I'm getting at. Yeah, like there's one comic where it just shows Spider-Man at a food truck getting a donut, and the guy who's running the donut truck, he realizes that he has his mother's medication, and he's like, you know, upset because he'll have to close his food truck to go give his mom the medicine throughout town or throughout the city, and it's also rush hour, so it would suck for the guy to close his truck because that's when he would be making some money. and Spider-Man just says, "Hey, give me a free donut, and I'll go take your mom the medication." And he's like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." And so gives that to Spider-Man, and Spider-Man goes to give the guy's mom medication, and then she tells Spider-Man like, "Hey, a long time ago, you saved my life from Scorpion and stuff like that." And Spider-Man's like, "Oh, like glad I could help and stuff like that." And so she asks Spider-Man if he knows how to cook, and he says no, he doesn't really have time for it. And so for like that afternoon, since there wasn't like anything major going on, she sat there and taught Spider-Man how to cook. And she said like, come by whenever you can and I'll teach you more. And he's like, cool. And that was just like a short story. Didn't have any major villains going on or anything. Just Spider-Man hanging out and talking to people. And a lot of times that's when Spider-Man shines the most, because Spider-Man's like one of the most grounded characters. Despite having superpowers, it's like, nah, man, he's probably like the most relatable character, which is why he's still popular. Yeah, because Spider-Man's like literally a character where it's like, hey, I have superpowers, but I have so much fucking responsibilities and stuff like that. It's like, what do you do? It's like, how do you maintain a normal life and not get fucked for it? Because there's been many times where Spider-Man's been trying to like, balance that out with both relationships and just, trying to make a living. And he often gets screwed up for it. He gets fired from his jobs. Like, luckily he has the Bugle to basically pawn pictures of himself. That's like the only like life hack that he has, is that he could give the Bugle pictures of himself as Spider-Man with angles that are practically impossible, but they never question it, and he can make money off of that. That's like the only life hack he actually has, because he couldn't do competitions without his mask being off, because that would just expose him. So taking pictures is literally all he has, unless he feels like making an OnlyFans, but that would just make shit weird. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's been times where Spider-Man has revealed himself to Jameson, and Jameson like understood the situation now. Or there's been like other like what if comics where there was one of the last time Spider-Man was seen alive, and it was like during like a crisis, like a world ending, or just like the world going to shit type of thing. And Jameson had seen Spider-Man saving a woman who had fallen into a massive flood, and this was when like the buildings were practically underwater, and Jameson was underwater, but he was like still in the building, so he was fine. But he saw Spider-Man like go and save this woman, and when they found out that Spider-Man had died, or at least seemingly died, because I think he was alive towards the end, but everyone thought Spider-Man was dead, and so Jameson wrote a obituary, I think it was obituary, about him, and Jameson respected him. And then there's been like stories where Jameson actually says that he actually does like Spider-Man. He just has issues because of the whole mask thing, because his wife was killed by a criminal wearing a mask, and so he's always like suspicious of Spider-Man because he doesn't know if he'll fall into that same category. So depending on which story you listen to or you read, you'll have like a different take of Jameson respecting Spider-Man. Because he doesn't actually hate him, he just has personal issues about him. Yeah, so depending on which story you read, you'll see a crazy take of Jameson just being like, nah man, Spider-Man's a hero. And there's been times where people will be like, oh, Jameson, you hated Spider-Man the most, and then he's like, you shut the hell up. like yeah, I've talked shit on Spider-Man, but that doesn't mean I didn't respect him, type of thing. Like he'll straight up stick up for Spider-Man. Comics where Captain America chewing. Yeah, there was that one. I remember that one where Captain America went straight to Jameson and was like, "You've been, putting all these tabloids out on Spider-Man, talking crap about him, and blah 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 blah." And then if you read the Superior Spider-Man comic, even though this is Dr. Octopus taking over Spider-Man's body, when Doc Ock optimized Spider-Man's time, Jameson respected him there too, because he was like, "Damn, you managed to do everything. You could, the city's better, crime is down, he's being more efficient and stuff like that." So if Spider-Man were to do the same, like Jameson would respect him on that too, on that level too. There was one where I believe Spider-Man died, and Jameson found out that it was Peter, and he went to Robbie and he's like, "Hey, did you know?" He's like, "No, man, I didn't." And he's like, some part of me always knew that it was Peter, and he just didn't want to admit it, or he didn't want to say anything because he knew that if he had put that out there, it would affect Peter's family and his life. So he just took the pictures just to make money, and he gets to talk shit on Spider-Man, but he didn't want to use information like that to ruin Peter's life. So he always kept it to a certain limit. And it's situations both before he figured out that it was Peter and after he figured it out. Isn't it about wanting to keep Spider-Man in check and accountable? Yeah. There's been situations like that where Jameson wanted Spider-Man to take accountable for the stuff that happens, the city gets destroyed, but Spider-Man just swings away, type of thing. There's been that. There's one comic where Spider-Man gets taken to court, basically to try to reveal his identity because he's always wearing a mask, and so they try to say that he did a bunch of crimes, and so they wanted him to reveal his identity because obviously only Spider-Man can do all these ability, these acrobatics and stuff like that. So Daredevil arranges it. Well, Daredevil's his lawyer, and then Daredevil manages to arrange it so that he gets a bunch of superheroes who have a similar body type and abilities as Spider-Man, and they're all just running around the courtroom, doing all these flips and stuff, and even using Spider-Man's web shooters to swing around to prove that it could be any superpowered person to masquerade as Spider-Man. So just because you're trying to take Spider-Man to court doesn't necessarily mean you're taking the correct Spider-Man. For all you know, you're taking a villain or a random superhero dressed up as him. So there's situations like that too. So yeah, but Spider-Man, the amount of shit he has to deal with. I know there was this one comic of I don't know if it was real, if it was just one a fan made, but it was Spider-Man talking to the Joker from the DC universe, and the Joker's all talking about I'm going to go destroy the city and kill your family or blah 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 blah. And Spider-Man just that's it. He's like, "Oh, okay," and Joker's like, "What do you mean that's it?" And so Spider-Man basically tells the Joker all of the shit that he's had to go through up until that point, and the Joker's just like, "Damn." It's and I thought one bad day was just enough to make a person go crazy and stuff. Like you're just taking it on the chin and stuff like that. And he's sitting with Spider-Man, basically being his therapist for a moment, or just chatting with him. And then Batman shows up, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Batman, okay, you can take me away." And he's like, "Spider-Man, just hang in there." Yeah, it was if that was a fan thing, it was very well written for a short comic, because I thought it was great. Just the Joker being convinced, man, Spider-Man deals with some shit that I didn't think a person could deal with. It's he's Batman levels of dealing with bullshit. So yeah, I thought that was a nice short. Yeah, there was what was it? I think I'm trying to remember who it was. I can't remember if it was Deadpool or if it was another character, but a character dresses up as Spider-Man just to kind of give Spider-Man a break, and he goes to fight Spider-Man's villains, and he's not talking because he doesn't want to blow his cover, and so the villains are fighting Spider-Man, and they're all like, "What? You don't have any jokes, Spider-Man?" And the character's just like not saying anything, and then all of the villains just kind of give up because they realize that if Spider-Man's not making jokes, then he's taking it seriously, or like something's like really, on his mind, or like pissing him off, and so they just give up because they don't want to deal with a pissed off Spider-Man. There's like, nope, if he's not telling jokes, then something's wrong here. Because they know Spider-Man that well enough where it's like, okay, he's going to be talking shit on us, and we gotta, like, tune it out so we don't get our asses kicked. When the Joker refuses to team up with the... Yeah, I remember that one. There's a Batman comic where he meets the man that killed... Oh, yeah. Joe Cool. Yeah. I think it was in the animated series too, where he figures out that Batman is Bruce Wayne. Or no, he doesn't figure out that Batman's Bruce Wayne. He just figures out that, or he just thinks that Bruce Wayne will figure out that he was the one that killed his parents. And so he ends up going up against Batman, and he still doesn't know that Batman's Bruce Wayne, but he like manages to beat Batman, or at least knock him out. And he unmasks Batman, but he sees Bruce Wayne's face, and like throughout the episode, I think he was like hallucinating, thinking that Bruce Wayne was like after him and stuff like that. And so when he unmasks Batman and sees Bruce Wayne's face, he starts freaking out, and so he ends up falling off the dock, and I think he dies from it. Killer Orca? I'll have to look at him. I think it's been a while. Killer Orca comics. Oh yeah, he probably would have been interesting. Kind of reminds me of Rhino, at least in some of these pictures. Now, Gang Orca probably makes up for that because him from My Hero Academia is awesome. Shit, did I color the wrong things? No, I didn't. We're good. Yeah, I remember that comic where he goes there as Peter Parker and beats the shit out of him. Like, he goes there dressed up as Spider-Man, but then he like takes off the mask. He's like, no, this is personal. He's like, this is between me and you. And I'm gonna move this over here just so I can get my reference colors. And that's when we realize we made a mistake. That's okay, because we can fix it. Luckily, this is fixable. I mean, the way I draw is always fixable. I'm just gonna delete these. No, I'll just do it over it. Makes it easier. There we go. I probably did. I haven't really been too into the recent Alien movies. Like, I think the last Alien-related movie I've seen was Prometheus. And that one was alright, it wasn't horrible. get her nails in a moment. Color is the same color. Oops. I need to get me 1000-Year Door for this Switch, so I don't miss out on that. I need to play Black Dust 2 again, see what they've added to that. That game just has the craziest fucking animations. I need to learn how to do some of that, because that game presses a hell of a lot of buttons. I've seen some of the stuff, yeah, like the change in the in that one character's face. It's just like, man, it's like I'm not even a big fan of Silent Hill, but even I know that that looks shitty. This is why a lot of people are starting to play older games now. They're not even gonna bother with the newer ones because it's like, why? Something gets watered down or changed or just straight up removed, so like what's the point? Like, you're better off just playing the original version if you can get your hands on it. Or even like a ROM of it. So unless something like Final Fantasy Remake or like 1000-Year Door, where hopefully nothing is removed or censored or whatever. You're just better off with those type of situations. I saw the thumbnail of it. I haven't actually watched the update itself. I haven't played Cult of the Lamb, but I know of it and what happens in it. Yeah, at this point, you basically just gotta go get the ROMs while you can. So, if there's like a website that you know that has the ROMs, or even just like, you know, people posting it somewhere, you might as well just go grab it now, as soon as you can. Or if you're lucky to already own the games, then there you go. Because you're either going to be in a situation where companies will just take down the games despite never releasing the games ever, or haven't released them in like the last 20 years, or 30 years in some cases, or you can somehow get your hands on it. But yeah, that just leads into the whole, like, it's all just being a waste at this point. Because it's like, hey, we're interested in playing this game. Will you sell it? No. Okay, I'm gonna go get it elsewhere. Hey, you can't do that. Why? You're not selling it. Yeah, but we don't want you to have it still. Even though we've done completely nothing with it for 20 years. Because fuck you. Thank you. How do you think headphones will work? I mean, you just take earbuds and you just put them in for ears. Honestly, it wouldn't be that difficult. Fortnite has Metallica. At this rate, if Fortnite just threw in stuff like Kiss or whatever, I would just be like, yeah, that's expected. Some reason you're just playing as Marilyn Manson, wearing some like fucking metal outfit or something, or gothic metal. It would just be Celebrity Deathmatch, but as a fucking Battle Royale. That's basically what Fortnite is. It's just Celebrity Deathmatch as a Battle Royale. Silent Hill 1 for PS1, nice. Like, if they had just made Fortnite as Celebrity Deathmatch, you could get the announcer, or the referee, being all like, alright, I want a good, clean fight, now let's get it on, and then it just throws everybody out of the bus, and then they go to find weapons, and then you just have like the host narrating what's going on. And then there you go. Oh yeah, pretty much. If Kiss were still relevant, or if Fortnite were still a thing back in the 80s, they probably would, yes. I mean, I don't know, let's give it some time. Let's see what happens. Like, they already put in like a bunch of superhero stuff, so then they start going backwards. What music do you think Loona likes? Probably anything satanic, to be honest. Or just goth music, come on. I could hear her. I mean, doesn't she listen to like metal in one of the episodes when she goes into her room? I could see her listening to pop music. She probably won't admit it. Clean up some of this. Yeah, I like metal as well. That's what I usually do to just chill. Or I listen to synthwave. We'll probably add some dialogue and all that. But as for Loona listening to pop, based off of the pilot, technically the pilot is no longer canon, so we don't know if she would listen to that. Because everything in the pilot is now considered not canon. Iron Maiden? Probably. I'm pretty sure she only has 3 fingers. Well, 4 if you count the thumb. Loona. God damn it. Why you gotta do that? Why you gotta make me look? Oh, fuck you. But better if I do look, though. Don't want to have a repeat of that one time. Honestly, if it happened again, I'd be like, eh, whatever. Thank you. I try to do the best I can. Try to clean up some of this. Also trying not to dread on these too much, because some of these details you won't even see. Okay. Okay, all that's left is the bottle. And then I'll call it for now. I'll still work on it, but I think I'll call it for now, just so I can try to get my allergies to chill the fuck out. It's like, seriously, I went through all day and they were fine. And then it wasn't until like right after I clicked record or streaming that they started acting up. Take care, Alex. Have a good day. Yeah, a few more bottles of this and she'll start to thicken out more. Right now she's just over drinking because she can't get enough of it. So she's got a sloshy tummy. Like she's only gaining a little bit of weight, but so far she still has a good, like just most of it in her stomach. Once she starts actually digesting it, she'll start to plump up more. No, I think that'll be the ending of this, where if the drive goes all the way, it'll be her just fattened up from all the bottles that she's drank from the crates that she got, and then Queen Bee as center kegs, and then that'll be the end of it. Yeah. I'm planning on having her just be like super wasted by the end of this. And then she also ends up getting the kegs, and I'm debating on what I want to transpire during that. Like if somebody brings them to her and sees her all fucked up, or if she's just like just slurring as she realizes that she just got another, or she's got more of Queen's honey. I'll figure it out when I get there. Usually I go page by page with this stuff, or if I do have a plan, then it's already in my head. Okay. Well, this is pretty much it. I'm probably going to have her stomach be a little bit red to show how much she's drank, and then obviously I'll fill in the blush when I get there too. But yeah, this is her so far. And I'll work on doing the shading and stuff like that. But yeah, probably gonna put like a bunch of bottles by her feet to show how much she's drank. And then I want this to be at her apartment, so I'm gonna try to make some like makeshift room for her to show that it's supposed to be her room. Because the whole idea is that she took the crates to the apartment while Blitz and everyone else is gone, so that way they don't get any of her honey drinks. So that's the idea. That's why she is elsewhere. And then I'm planning on having all this happen in like the same day, so she's just gonna, you know, start ripping out of her clothes pretty soon. Drunken hiccups. There's a story right around where it's Queen feeding Loona a keg of pure. I've probably seen that one somewhere. But yeah. Thank you everybody for coming. Like I said, I will work on this more a little later tonight or tomorrow in the morning and put this out as soon as possible. After that, I'm mostly going to be working on either the Fat Lovers Club artwork or more of I Had Secrets, and then probably going to work on some other side stuff too. Thank you. But yeah, you guys take care, have a good day or morning or night, and I will see you guys later. Okay, take care, bye bye.